Hi everyone, my name is Moti Shefi and I'm a teacher of Transcendental Meditation since 1979. I'm talking to you now from India. I tried a few minutes ago to go live on Facebook, but the internet connection here is not so stable, so I'm trying to record a video and then I will try to put it on Facebook. So the reason that I'm talking to you is that in few days ago I published a book on Amazon. The title of the book in English is Transcendental Yoga, which is a new translation and commentary of the Yoga Sutra of Patanjali in light of the teaching of Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. It's available both in digital form and printed book. And I wanted just to tell you a few things about the book, I wrote it basically 1 year ago in Hebrew, and this version in English is edited and I add something to it and things like that. So I think it came out really nice. The first part of the book, I discuss the background of yoga in the Vedic literature of India. Because when Patanjali came and started to speak about yoga in these short sentences, he didn't do it from scratch, He was belonging to this kind of Vedic tradition that discuss the meaning of life and the process of creation and everything, development of consciousness. And he knew the Upanishads, he knew the Gita, he knew all these things. And when we read the sutras and we are not aware of all this background of Vedic literature, our ability to understand them, to understand the sutras will be less. So in the first part, first of all, I'm starting while describing, the approach of Maharishi to the development of consciousness, to 7 states of consciousness. And that's important because various aspects of Vedic literature are focusing on certain area of states of consciousness. Patanjali, for example, his main thing is to develop Kaivalya, which Maharishi described as a state of cosmic consciousness. What it means that the state of yoga, this experience of transcendental consciousness, or samadhi, or a state that we go beyond all the waves, all the vrittis, the mental activities, and experience consciousness in a state that it refers to itself, experience itself as pure consciousness, a silent inner level, which is actually our inner self. That's the experience of yoga, that's the experience of samadhi. So Patanjali first described these experiences, various experiences on the way to develop consciousness. So also the experience of transcendental consciousness or samadhi, he gives it different flavors and different explanations. So the book, the Yoga Sutra, therefore is very important to people who practice meditation because it can allow them to understand much more deeply their own experiences. And understanding is a crucial point in the development of consciousness because experience is the main thing, but in order to be able to progress quickly on this way of development of consciousness, you have to understand your experiences and understand them in a right way. And therefore, we have all this treasure of Vedic literature that the ancient rishis, enlightened people who lived in India in ancient time, cognized within themselves the mechanics of our experiences in states of consciousness is evolving, how the creation is kind of taking place, and all these things. So Patanjali Yoga Sutra is part of the Vedic literature. Therefore, after this introduction of the knowledge of Maharishi, I start to scrutinize, a different aspect of Vedic literature and describe how they refer to the state of yoga, to the practice of yoga. So I talk about the 4 main Vedas, Rig, Sama, Yajur, and Atharva, and about the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita and the Sankhya philosophy and yoga in the Brahma Sutras and other aspects of Vedic literature. After that, what I did, I took main themes that Patanjali was referring to, like the experience of samadhi, transcendental consciousness, like the experience of cosmic consciousness, what Patanjali calls Kaivalya, like the experiences of the siddhis, that Patanjali referred to them in a full chapter, the 3rd chapter, all the experience, all the mechanics of the way that consciousness develop and so forth. And then I wrote some introduction to each of this section, and then I brought many quotes from different aspects of Vedic literature just to show the ideas that beforehand I kind of describe in the text. So it gives us kind of an overview of the richness and depth of the Vedic knowledge with reference to yoga and development of consciousness. And after that is the main part of the book, is the sutras themselves. So each sutra appear in Sanskrit, Devanagari, and after that in English transliteration, and then word by word meaning, which is very important because in Sanskrit each word can be translated in various ways. And the approach of the translator really influenced the way that he choose what word to use. For example, I give you one example which is outstanding, is the second sutra. In the second sutra, Patanjali said, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha, which means most of the translators, they did a translation that is based on the fact that they understood the word Nirodha as blocking or stopping. Not stopping, blocking or concentrating. And then if Nirodha is blocking, the meaning of the sutra will be that yoga is a state where all the activity of the mind, all the fluctuation of the mind, thinking, intellectual understanding, emotions, imaginations, everything is blocked completely, and then we can experience the state of samadhi or the state of yoga, which is the same basically. Vyasa, that I refer to him a lot in the book, he wrote a very famous commentary on the Yoga Sutra. He was a Maharishi, great Maharishi who wrote the Gita and the Mahabharata and Puranas. He said in the commentary to the first sutra that yoga means samadhi. So yoga is a state where we go beyond all this fluctuation of the mind and we experience pure consciousness. A state where consciousness is not referring to outward object, but is completely open to itself in a self-referral way. So the second sutra, according to other translators, describe a state that a person try to experience the state of yoga through concentration, through control of the mind. That's how they translate the word nirodha, and it's true. The translation is correct if you look in the dictionary, but the same word you can translate as stopping. So in this respect, the second sutra will be yoga is a state where the fluctuation of the mind, the activity of the mind is completely stopped. Completely stop, it doesn't mean that we try to stop it. It doesn't mean that we try to concentrate in order to disallow all this kind of thinking and emotions and stuff like that to enter our consciousness. No. It can mean that yoga is a state that we take our awareness within ourselves, we refine our mental activity, and then naturally we experience the state of yoga, the state of samadhi, the state where we go beyond all these noises. And then, once we experience this state, automatically, naturally, without any concentration, without any effort, all this fluctuation of the mind, all these kind of waves that we experience on the mental level are completely subsiding, and we experience this pure silence, pure consciousness. So you see how translation of one word completely will influence the meaning of the sutras. And this is just one example. We can find many other such examples throughout the text, So I went to the sutras, I translated them and brought commentary. And while commenting on the sutras, I used a lot of other commentaries of classical commentaries. First of all, of Vyasa, that I mentioned also, but there's other classical commentaries of Vachaspati Misra and Vijnana Bhikshu, great teachers that also comment on the sutras. So I choose things that I like in their commentaries. Also, Adi Shankara also supposedly, nobody knows if it's for sure, also wrote a commentary on the sutras. So I used a lot of other sources, adding to the main knowledge of Maharishi that was my inspiration to do this commentary on the sutras. So I will post the link to Amazon. You can, as I said, you can see there both version, the Kindle version and the print version. And in each version you can see sample of the pages, and it's different in both version. So my suggestion, just go there, click on these see samples, and you will get a very good idea about the book. You will see that in the printed book, you will see the table of content and few pages and the index. And just look in the index, the words, you will get a feeling of the range and comprehensive nature of this book. And then on the version of that is in Kindle, the digital version, you have, I think, at least about 50 pages. I don't know. They choose them themselves. You know, the author doesn't have much to say about which pages the Amazon is choosing. But anyway, in the Kindle version, you can read at least 50 pages from the beginning of the book. So you can get a really good overview of the whole thing and impression what it is about. And I hope that it will inspire you to read it. I think it's important book. Has a lot of knowledge about different aspects of life, correct behavior according to the laws of nature, philosophical understanding of life, development of consciousness, of course, different experiences that one can encounter on the way to develop consciousness. You see, I wrote on the back cover that Patanjali is like a person that is climbing a mountain, and he already reached the top of the mountain, and from the angle that is there on the top, he can see the whole way up, and all the way up is clear to him, you know. Therefore, from this level, he can guide seekers for enlightenment, how to proceed in this way, you know. And therefore, it's important, you know, that it gives a lot of depth, a lot of deep understanding of what actually we are doing when we meditate or when we practice the siddhis and things like that. So I think that each person that practices Transcendental meditation, especially the TMCD program, should read this text. I mean, because it's obvious. I mean, we devote so much time each day to the practice of the siddhis. It's nice to understand what, for example, Patanjali predicted on each sutra and on the third chapter, Vibhuti-pada of the siddhis, and so forth. And for meditators, you know, it's nice, you know, we meditate, we experience certain thing. But once we see that the same experiences are described in ancient texts of thousands of years ago, it gives us more confidence that what we are doing and what we are experiencing has a truth in it, you know. So therefore, this knowledge is so precious and so important. So it was joy to speak to you, and I hope I will succeed to download this short talk to Amazon, not to Amazon, to Facebook. And I hope I will continue just to talk about this sutra or that sutra, you know. So hopefully you will enjoy it also. So see you later. Bye bye.